Hi everyone, it's Albie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be going over my review and reaction of season 3 of Bridgerton, the Netflix series. So I'd say I enjoyed it a little bit more than season 2. On a scale of 1 to 5, I'd probably give it like a 3.5 to like 3.75. It was averagely good and it was just fine. My mom sort of asked me what I thought and I was like, it was fine. There wasn't anything that annoyed me or made me upset too much, but it just didn't give me as much spark and as excitement as season 1. So let's sort of dive into why I felt this way, I guess. So I think one thing that quite annoyed me was the sectioning of part 1 and part 2 and having a month's wait in between. Honestly, I think people have called it out. It's Netflix making sure people have a 2-month membership, so basically paying, what is that, I think $14, $15 to completely watch the season live so you're not spoiled, which I do have a Netflix subscription. I have the second tier. I used to actually have the highest tier, but the quality of the shows and I just wasn't watching it as much. I actually lowered my membership, and partially why I lowered my membership as well was they stopped having the mail-in DVDs. I've actually had a Netflix account since 2005, I believe, and I actually was one of the first people to be a beta watcher for the streaming. So because I was such a long-term loyal customer for Netflix, I remember in high school I was able to stream everything on my computer. It was before like copyright laws, so Netflix had started, you can stream, and you could literally stream every movie on Netflix, which their library was essentially every movie. So I was just streaming movies on my laptop way before anyone knew what to do, and it was free. It was a tester for Netflix, and I was part of that because I've been with them for a couple years. And then around high school sometime, they asked if I had a Wii, and I said, yes, I do have a Wii. You know, the gaming system, which is now I think obsolete, but I did have a Wii, and they sent me this like DVD disc, and you insert it in the Wii player, and it is essentially what the Netflix app is on your computer, on your smart TV. Literally the same thing. It's a little bit cleaner and modern. Before it was just sort of all stuck together, like it was all just like an open home page with different sections. It didn't really have a search bar too well, but I remember streaming seasons 1 through I think 6 of Desperate Housewives that summer. It was like a show I binged, and yeah, I was a tester for Netflix for a number of years, so that was kind of fun. But let's get into the show. So I think they were a little bit greedy doing a 2-part season, and another thing that really just soured my apple was I just feel like Bridgerton itself is moving away from what the books were, in the sense of it's a couple and the romance of the couple, and now it's becoming more of an ensemble cast and show, and I don't love that as much because I'm a romance reader, I'm a romance lover. I enjoy watching the romance, and I felt like the romance was secondary, and I felt like this book and this season in particular really should have been their most romantic, and to me it was the most lackluster. I felt like the romance was just literally the secondary factor of the story. It was more so ensemble cast of diverse characters, to the point where it just lost that fun essence of the show. I mean, season 1, I know people did not like it as much, but so far it's still, I think, been the best and most cohesive interpretation of the books, and season 1 is still my favorite. Season 3 was just fine. I feel like there were so many characters that were being built up as bigger, and I just felt like it took away from the show. Like I can't remember the couple, but they've been in since season 1. He was like a boxer with the Duke, and now he's like in aristocracy with his wife. There was a lot of to do with them moving into society, which is an interesting show. It's an interesting topic. I enjoy seeing it, but it just is taking away from the other show. It's almost like they're trying to make 2 shows into one, and it's making the romantic couples not the focus, and that's been kind of a disappointment for me. I do enjoy seeing the secondary characters' lives and learning like history, even though at this point people are calling it, I think even people in the studio are calling it like Regency fantasy, which to me is a little bit, you know, racist and stuff, just because, you know, people did exist, people did have wealth, people did have status, people did have power, and so I think by calling it fantasy, I feel like it's degrading a bit. That's another whole other topic for the Bridgerton show. But secondary characters being the focus really just took away from Colin and Penelope. Like Cressida, I could have really cared less about Cressida, and she had more screen time, I think, than Penelope in some ways. I felt like there was so much to do about her, and I mean, the plot twist of her, I don't want to do too many spoilers, but the plot twist of her saying she was whistled down to try to get out of arranged marriages, yet again, was an interesting twist. It made it fun, but they drove that storyline a lot bigger than I think it ever had to be. And yeah, I mean, the whole hot air balloon scene was sort of a waste. And then let's do a quick discussion of Benedict. So, you know, season 3 should have been Benedict's book, but they switched it around, which I think is fine. You know, the books overlap. Like books 3 through 6 are almost all like when a couple months time, and there's not really a way, especially on this production schedule every 2 years apparently, to have that be organic. But okay, so we have Tilly, I think it was her name. She's an actress, she's wealthy, fine, you know, we haven't gotten to Sophie yet, whatever. But it was just another large scale waste of not showing Penelope and Colin, in my opinion. And then I felt a little gaslit by them having it be such a big deal that Benedict was bi, when I thought he was sort of bi or bi-coded in like season 1, episode 1. Like I was like, okay, this man is for the time would be called like a libertine. He's very promiscuous. He's, you know, into a lot of things, very that be people or hobbies. You know, he had hobbies. He was an artist, and then it's like season 3, he's like, oh, I have no purpose. I don't know what's going on. And he's like, I guess I'll have a threesome with my girlfriend. And it was just sort of a waste. I felt like they took away, they were building a character that I thought was bi or whatever in season 1, and then it's just like they kind of erased that in season 2. They kind of watered him down, which I know people have pointed out. Like he was almost like, essentially, I thought he was already bi in season 1, and then season 2 is just like with one girl, it's like, oh, she's like a model or something. So like he does art, he has hobbies, and like his whole crux of season 3 was like partially his sexuality, which is like whatever. Let's get back to Penelope and Colin's sexuality, which, another tangent, was non-existent. This had to be the least spiciest season, and I thought they broke a bed. I was like, where's this bed? I mean, the first scene in episode 5, you know, could they have had a bigger yard of fabric to cover them? I thought we were gonna get like full frontal tummy, feeling my goddess body self, and it was like some great boobs, and I don't even think we saw his butt. It was just like, what's the point of this? Like they acted like it was gonna be super carnal, and it was more bland. I was really disappointed by that, especially because they hyped it up so much. And apparently, allegedly, there was a lot of cuts in season 3, and the scene with the broken bed was cut, allegedly. I've just seen this online. I have no receipts for it. I don't think it's too bad to talk about. I mean, but apparently that was all cut, and I'm like, why? Where's the uncut footage? Excuse me. So yeah, I was like, where's the spice? And then like people were saying he didn't even get a wedding night. He was just like, I'm gonna sleep on the sofa, which, okay, how modern could that have sentence been? I'm gonna sleep on the sofa. Which, I mean, yes, there were sofas. He probably would have said like, I'm gonna sleep on the settee, I'm gonna sleep in my quarters, because essentially you wouldn't have the same bedroom anyway in that time. But yeah, but let's talk about things I liked. To quote Aretha Franklin, gowns, beautiful gowns, beautiful gowns. Clothes I loved. The makeup I really liked. Was it accurate? No, it was basically Pat McGrath does Regency makeup. If you don't know, Pat McGrath, I think all of her products are used for everyone on Bridgerton. So if you want to find how to do the makeup, basically either buy the Pat McGrath makeup or type in Pat McGrath dupes for this, and this, and you'll get your full face for like 20 bucks instead of 200. So yeah, I liked the makeup. I liked the clothes. I really liked seeing the growth of Penelope. Yet again, I think that should have been the focal point. There's a lot of just wonderful moments. I really loved Penelope coming face to face with her mother. I love Polly Walker. She's one of my favorite actresses. She says one of my favorite lines. I cannot repeat it on YouTube, but if you watched Rome on HBO, she gave the best gift of all time. Best gift. I mean, who doesn't want that as a gift? If you know, you literally know. Oh, Polly Walker is such a queen. I love her. But there were some really lovely moments, like Polly Walker, or well, the mother, you know, Mrs. Featherington, was like basically confronting her about her life and being whistled down. And Penelope didn't hold back. But you know what? They worked through their strides, and I thought that was a really beautiful moment to have the mother and daughter like acknowledge how they had hurt one another and come through it and really like repair their relationships, stitch it back together. And sometimes, even though it's hard, sometimes those like conversations that are kind of ugly and nasty, they kind of help like open the wound, but then let that wound heal together, if that makes sense. I really did enjoy those scenes with Penelope and her mother having arguments, but then working through them. And it looked like from the epilogue that it was going well. So yeah, those were my thoughts for season 3. Let's do a little bit of season 4 predictions, if you will. They have not officially announced who season 4 will be focused on. I'll do my first prediction. I think it's going to be, well, here's the easiest one. It's going to be in a 2-part series. It's going to be part 1 in May, part 2 in June, because Netflix wants double that paycheck amount. So I think it's going to be another 2-parter. I'm hopeful that, okay, here's my second premonition. These are all alleged, so these are all guesses, but I think I'm close on some stuff. I think season 4 will focus on 2 siblings. I think that season 4 will focus on Benedict, and I think we're going to have the start and maybe the finish of Eloise, and have some more of Francesca. So it's going to be a season where it's predominantly Benedict. I think in a little start of Eloise, if not Benedict and Eloise. But I think we're also going to have some of the start of Francesca as well. So we have a big spoiler for When She Was Wicked. If you know, you know. I'm not going to do a spoiler, but we have a big spoiler for that. I don't think that'll be next season. I think that's going to be season 5, but I do think season 4 will be Benedict and Eloise. And that makes sense with the timelines, because if you remember, Eloise is still low-key mad at Penelope. I can't think of her name. Penelope, and so like she kind of runs away, but I think they did work stuff out. But so Sophie and Benedict, they're married in Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. And so, and this is book 4. So then we have Penelope, Colin, they're getting together. And then Eloise is like running away to go see Philip in the books. This could go completely different. They've literally gone off script. Someone literally commented on TikTok, and it was pretty funny. They're like, why did they pay for the rights for Bridgerton if they're not even going to use the stuff? And I was like, okay, that's an honest quote. I really like that, because it's really gone to be very different. But you know, creative licenses so far hasn't been as bad as the last season of Game of Thrones, Way to the Bay. Ooh, I hope we don't have that with Bridgerton. All right, so my second prediction was the mashup season. I think we're gonna have Benedict. I think we're gonna have mostly Benedict leaning into Eloise and maybe a little dash of Francesca. I've had this suspicion since season 1, not suspicion, premonition. I think that Sophie Bennett will be played by a trans female actress. I've said that to my friends since season 1 when they had like Benedict bi-coded. I was like, I think he's gonna be like, I think Sophie's gonna be a trans female actress. I don't know why. Probably she won't be now, but I think she's also gonna be an actress of color. I think she might be Latina, or I think she's gonna be East Asian. So I think that's another premonition I'm gonna put out. So I've already literally Googled like trans actresses that would be in the age range. I was like, I don't think Hunter Shaver, she's too young. And then I thought maybe like Pedro Pascal's sister. I don't know if she acts, but I feel like she would match the Bridgerton aesthetic. She's very pretty. She looks like a brunette Francesca. So I think that, and then I think that would be an interesting storyline, because if you think about it, so spoilers for An Offer from a Gentleman. So Sophie is illegitimate. She is the illegitimate bastard daughter of her father. So she has no title, no place. She's like the Cinderella to her stepmother and 2 wicked stepsisters. Okay, yeah, that's an interesting story. But what if Sophie had been born Stephen? And what if Stephen was now Sophie? How interesting would that be? So she went from possibly having the power in the air to not having to give that up, and then really becoming the Cinderella trope. That could be really interesting, because history, women could not own property, they could not inherit the title. So how interesting would that be if the character could have possibly had that as the bastard child? Because we know in history, even like I think a king was like the illegitimate, and he became the king because he was the man. He was like the only man that was like alive to fill that. I'm pretty sure that happened in England. I'm not the best with history, but I thought one of the illegitimates became the king, or like really high up, because there was no one to fulfill the duty. So how interesting would that be if we had a character that, although was the illegitimate heir, could not even try to get that because they became female and then they had no power. That could be an interesting season. So I think that could be interesting if they're going to write that. I think make it smart, make it unique, make it a story we're telling. Don't throw in that just for to say the heroine's a redhead. Like, I've had so many problems with what was that, the Duke one with yeah, that one, the one I always talk about, where they had that the female lead was trans female, and it was just like they had like no explanation to the story. It's like the author was like, oh well, it's not supposed to be historically accurate, it's just a historical romance. I was like, but you could have done so much with that. You could have done something with that, and they didn't. So I think let's do something interesting if they're gonna go that route. I don't think that we're gonna have just Stephen Beckett. I think either she's gonna be cis female Sophie or trans female Sophie, and I think that could be an interesting story. Let's look at next predictions. I think Violet will have some more romancing with Marcus. I don't think we're gonna have that really blossom until the last season, but I really like that. I don't remember Marcus in the story, but I like him as a character. And so was Marcus in this like flashbacks, was that the little boy that Lady Danbury took to the Queen, or was that her son? Because if you know the books, Lady Danbury must have children, because spoiler alert, Hyacinth marries her grandson. So I can remember, was Marcus the little boy that she took to see the Queen in season 3 of the show, or was that Lady Danbury's son? I couldn't quite figure that out. So let me know in the comments below if you watched it. But yeah, and then let's see. Some actors I don't think that will return. The Duke, he ain't coming back. He's not coming back. Daphne, I don't think she's gonna come back either. I'd love for her to come back, but she's like, peace. I think either, I don't think that we're gonna have a lot of Kate and Anthony in season 4. One, their schedules are actually booked, and 2, they alluded to the fact that Anthony wants to take Kate to see her family in India, because he's like, I want our children to know that they're Bridgertons, but us also Sharmas. And so I don't think they're going to be with the Bridgerton brood, but I think there could be scenes of them in India, or I think there could be a really short snippet of them in the finale of season 4. But I don't think we're going to have a lot of Kate and Benedict, Kate and Anthony in season 4. But yeah, so those are my predictions, and that is my review of season 3. Let me know in the comments below, do you agree with some of these things? Are you completely off put by some of these? Let me know. I think it's fun to have some discourse. Please always be kind to one another, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see y'all soon. Bye everyone.